Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're not just looking at some ancient text, we're actually unpacking a surprisingly practical guide for training your mind, one that aims for real clarity and freedom.
So this sutra was presented by Śāriputra, who was one of the Buddha's most insightful disciples. And right off the bat, you realize this isn't about abstract philosophy. You should really think of it as a user's manual for your own awareness, like a step-by-step roadmap for navigating your own inner world. The whole thing opens with this really powerful promise. It's basically an invitation, setting the stage for a journey that makes sense and feels complete, from the very first step all the way to the final destination.
Okay, so let's do exactly what it asks. Let's treat this sutra as a map. We're going to follow its structure to break down this whole path to inner freedom into stages that are clear, understandable, and actually manageable.
All right, let's dive into this first part. Before you can even think about walking the path, the text is very clear. You've got to prepare your mind first. And that preparation begins with something that sounds simple, but is actually pretty profound: learning how to listen correctly.
What's so interesting is how the sutra frames this whole thing as a partnership. It's a two-way street. The speaker, they have a responsibility to teach with kindness and humility. But the listener also has a job to do, to receive the teaching with an open and really engaged mind.
And it gets super specific here, listing 16 conditions for how to listen effectively. But they all kind of boil down to this: show up with a focused mind, a humble heart, and a genuine desire to actually apply what you learn, not just to win a debate or sound smart. So, once your mind is prepped and ready to learn, that's when the real work begins. Let's get into the absolute core of the practice, the actual mental exercises designed to reshape how we see everything. The sutra actually outlines 10 of these contemplations, but man, these 4 are the real heavy hitters. You can think of them as mental workouts. Contemplating impermanence? That helps us loosen our death grip on things. Investigating no self? Well, that directly challenges our ego. Each one is a tool for seeing reality just a little more clearly.
Of course, any journey that's actually worth taking is going to have its challenges, and the sutra doesn't shy away from this at all. In fact, it maps out all the predictable mental roadblocks with some incredible psychological precision.
The text points to all these common mental habits and patterns that just sabotage our progress. And the thing is, they aren't some mysterious forces. Nope, they're just the predictable tendencies of a mind that hasn't been trained yet. This is where the practical genius of this sutra just shines. I mean, it doesn't just name the problems. It gives you a specific, targeted antidote for each one. So if you're struggling with laziness, the text says, hey, try reflecting on impermanence. Is your ego the problem? The practice of no self is the prescription. It's this highly systematic approach. Problem meets solution. And here's the crucial point, right? The sutra treats these hindrances not as some kind of character flaw or moral failing, but just as universal habits of the mind. They're predictable, they're understandable, and most importantly, they can be skillfully worked with and overcome.
So you've prepared the mind, you've engaged in the practices, and you've worked on overcoming the obstacles. Where does this path ultimately lead? What's the destination?
Well, through this consistent and skillful practice, the sutra says that 8 fundamental mental thorns are completely uprooted, not just trimmed back, totally removed from the mind.
And listen, these are not minor irritants we're talking about. These are the very roots of our suffering. Things like raw desire, anger, and that fundamental ignorance of how things really are. The practice just systematically pulls them out one by one.
And in the space that's cleared by removing those thorns, 10 unshakable qualities of a fully liberated mind get established. So it's not like you're left with an empty state. It's a full and complete one.
The person who actually completes this journey earns a title. The original text calls them Sheng Zheng Fu. And that doesn't just mean a great person. It's more dynamic, more like the victorious one, someone who has won that final, internal battle against their own suffering. And the whole text wraps up with this simple, direct, and just unbelievably profound statement. This is the goal. This is the result of the entire journey, a complete, final end to all that inner turmoil.
And that really brings this ancient map right into our lives today, doesn't it? It leaves us with a really important question to reflect on. Looking at this path, looking at those 8 thorns, where would your own journey of training the mind begin? Which thorn would you want to remove first?